On my birthday, my affluent grandpa chuckled. How did you spend your $3,400,000 trust fund? I dazedly blinked. What trust fund? My parents looked like they were about to throw up. He turned to them and asked, where did it go? The silence that followed could have shattered glass. We were at Olive Garden, my choice, because I'd been living on $11 an hour and actually got excited about unlimited breadsticks. Grandpa Edmund had flown in from Boston specifically for my 25th birthday, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. Dad suddenly became extremely interested in his napkin. I'm sorry, I managed. What trust fund? Grandpa's smile faded instantly. His eyes moved from me to my parents like a hawk tracking prey. Richard, Carol, explain now. That's when I watched my father, a man who'd preached honesty my entire childhood, completely fall apart. His hands trembled as he reached for his water glass, missing it entirely and knocking it over. We can explain, Mom said, her voice cracking. It's complicated. I established a $2 million trust when Madison was born, Grandpa interrupted, pulling reading glasses from his pocket. With interest, it should be worth approximately $3.4 million today. It became accessible at 25. He looked directly at me. You should have received paperwork from the bank 3 weeks ago. I'd received nothing. Did you receive any documentation? Grandpa pressed. I shook my head, unable to form words. My mind was racing through every conversation, every financial struggle, every time I'd eaten ramen for a week straight to make rent, every time Dad had complained about money being tight while driving a Lexus. Where is the money? Grandpa's voice dropped to something dangerous. Dad's face had gone from pale to blotchy red. We borrowed against it. We always planned to replace it. Borrowed! Grandpa's hand slammed the table. Other diners turned to stare. That fund was legally untouchable. The only way to access it would be— His face changed as realization hit. Fraud. You committed fraud. Mom started crying, mascara running down her cheeks. But I was stuck on one word. Borrowed. How much is left? I asked quietly. Neither answered. How much? Grandpa demanded. Nothing. Dad finally whispered. It's gone. The restaurant disappeared. I was 19 again, begging my manager for extra shifts after my car broke down. 21, dropping out of college because I couldn't afford books. 23, choosing between groceries and my inhaler. While my parents had a pool installed, took cruises to Alaska, remodeled their kitchen twice. Madison worked 3 jobs to pay for community college, Grandpa said, voice shaking with rage. She drives a car with 200,000 miles. You're telling me you stole her entire future to pay for what exactly? The business was struggling. Dad started. We had to. Your business failed 6 years ago. Grandpa cut him off. I know, because you asked me for a loan, which I refused because you wouldn't explain what happened to Madison's trust. That's when everything clicked. 6 years ago, Dad had suddenly started working from home. They'd said he was consulting. The Lexus appeared, the pool, the Alaska cruise. All right after his business collapsed. You've been living off my money for 6 years? My voice sounded strange, disconnected. Mom reached for my hand. I jerked away. We gave you everything, she sobbed. We raised you, fed you, with my money, I said. Money meant for my education, my future. You literally stole my college fund and watched me drop out. I stood up, legs shaking. Grandpa stood with me. Madison, please, Dad began. Don't, I said. I'm calling a lawyer tomorrow. If there's nothing left to recover, there's definitely something to prosecute. You'd send your own parents to prison? Mom's tears had stopped. Her voice turned cold. You'd steal from your own daughter? I shot back. Grandpa left a $100 bill on the table and guided me toward the exit. As we reached the door, I turned back one last time. They weren't crying anymore. Dad was on his phone, probably calling a lawyer. Mom was finishing her wine, like nothing had happened. That image burned itself into my memory. My parents, sitting in a casual dining restaurant, showing more concern for legal consequences than for what they'd done to their daughter. The recovery process took 2 years. Criminal charges stuck. Dad got 5 years, Mom got 3. I recovered $480,000 after legal fees, enough to finish my degree and start over. My brother stopped speaking to me, said I tore apart our family over money problems. But they didn't just steal money. They watched me struggle for years, knowing they'd taken my safety net to fund their comfort. I graduated debt-free last month with a degree in forensic accounting. My first case? A trust fund fraud investigation.